Today, we reached a new important milestone, the EU-Japan Green Alliance. It is our commitment to be a leader in climate neutrality by 2050, and this ambitious alliance will boost cooperation in many areas: energy transition, business, regulatory cooperation, innovation, environmental protection, or sustainable finance. We also discussed the digital transformation of our societies. The EU wants to make the next 10 years our digital decade. We will work with Japan on emerging technologies, critical materials, 5G, 6G, artificial intelligence, data and platforms. And this will boost the competitiveness of both the EU and Japan and set standards in multilateral fora. We also discussed this morning our bilateral relations. The full implementation of our economic partnership agreement to boost bilateral trade and investment should remain our joint priority. Japan is the EU's first connectivity partner and must continue to make concrete progress on high-standard infrastructure projects in third countries. We should complete our negotiations of the so-called horizontal agreement on air transport as soon as possible. And we are fostering cooperation in the industrial research and innovation and space sectors. And this includes the possibility for Japan to be associated with the Horizon Europe research program. We have also strengthened our security and defense cooperation. The EU decided to reinforce its strategic focus on the Indo-Pacific region. We have a strong interest to intensify with Japan our cooperation in maritime security, technology cooperation, cyber security, disinformation, and to promote fundamental values and principles in the region. As human rights and democracy are attacked around the world, the EU and Japan need to coordinate our actions. We also discussed a range of regional affairs, including the situation in the East and South China Sea, DPRK, Iran and the JCPOA, Myanmar, Ukraine, Russia or China. We look forward to our next meeting in Tokyo to further strengthen our EU-Japan relationship. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. And now I pass the floor to the President of the European Commission.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Indeed, we had a very productive EU-Japan summit. Japan is a like-minded partner of the European Union, and we have made good progress on our partnership. There is still a lot to be done, but we went through each of the topics, and there's a lot of cooperation that we are working on to increase the common agenda. Indeed, the first point on our common agenda was the fight against climate change. And here, Japan is one of the first countries that has committed to climate neutrality in 2050. It was last fall, so they are, like the European Union, very committed to the long-term goals. I very much welcome that. It will be interesting to see the goal defined by Japan by 2030, and we want to work much closer on this topic together. That's why we indeed started the first ever Green Alliance with Japan. And there's a whole agenda that is in this Green Alliance, in the green transition. We want to inspire others to join, of course, and therefore this Green Alliance is also so important in the run-up to the COP15 on biodiversity in Kunming and the COP26 on climate in Glasgow, because we really need to move to form this movement towards tangible, reliable goals we put for ourselves out there to fight climate change and to fight the loss of biodiversity. There are a few topics or examples of the Green Alliance. For example, that we shape global standards, or that we both push forward sustainable finance, like green bonds, and that we are firm on carbon pricing. But we also see an enormous potential in cooperating in the Green Alliance, for example, on clean energy. We will be signing a memorandum of cooperation on hydrogen with Japan in the second half of this year. This paves the way, but there are also other topics like the offshore wind, to work there closely together. All this was part of our discussions in this summit. On bilateral trade, another topic, here the cornerstone is the Economic Partnership Agreement. It has joint priority and we have to implement it fully. We will focus on delivering concrete benefits in non-tariff areas and on clarifying the free flow of data under our agreement, for instance. And we will continue working on market access within this Economic Partnership Agreement for EU agricultural products and on the remaining sanitary and phytosanitary issues that have to be resolved. On multilateral trade, we share absolutely the views on the necessity to reform WTO. And as we're very happy that the US, with President Biden, is back at the negotiation table, we should now use the momentum mainly to develop new multilateral rules and to unlock the dispute settlement mechanism. Here we agreed that we will push together for really having a concrete result in the ministerial conference of WTO in the second half of the year. On digital, Japan is our oldest and closest partner in the digital field. And once more, here too, we share the same vision of human-centric digitization. So we want to build a partnership for the digital decade with Japan. We are investing in connectivity. We can work together on standards, for example, on the ethical use of artificial intelligence. We will promote, as I've said, the digital trade flows through resilient supply chains and secure cyberspace, just to name a few examples of this potential. And fifth, on my last point, we also discussed the global fight against the pandemic. Both the European Union and Japan have made significant contributions to COVAX to ensure access to vaccines for all. The European Union will continue to support the efforts to fight the pandemic, including exporting vaccines. Here there was a very clear question from our Japanese partners. It is a sign of solidarity and a sign of friendship with Japan that so far the European Union has authorized more than 100 million doses to be exported to Japan. That is approximately enough to vaccinate 40% of the population. And this reflects the very strong bonds between the European Union and Japan. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Madam President. Let me simply highlight that the EU-Japan Green Alliance and the ambitious joint statement on EU and Japan was published just now on our website. And we're going to turn to the Q&A session now. Please, can I ask you to put your cameras on and raise your yellow hand, it is now. Just reminding you that we have Japanese translation as well. And we have the first question from Associated Press by Samuel Petrikin. Samuel, you have the floor.
Oui, bonjour à tous. Mes questions sont pour Madame la Présidente et Monsieur le Président. J'aimerais savoir si vous avez abordé la question des Jeux Olympiques ce matin lors de votre entrevue et si le Premier ministre a confirmé l'intention du Japon de faire en sorte qu'il puisse bien avoir lieu. J'aimerais aussi savoir avoir votre opinion sur l'opportunité d'envoyer des athlètes européens, des milliers d'athlètes, leur délégation au Japon cet été, si vous pensez que c'est une bonne décision qui pourra garantir la sécurité de tous ceux qui voyageront au Japon. Et j'ai également une question qui concerne les sanctions éventuelles imposées au Bélarus et j'aimerais savoir si vous avez décidé de sanctionner l'industrie du potassium. Merci beaucoup.
Peut-être deux points. Sur le premier point, en effet, le Premier ministre du Japon a mentionné les Jeux Olympiques qui sont organisés, comme cela a été annoncé par les autorités du Japon avec le Comité Olympique International. Il nous a indiqué être engagé avec les autorités de son pays pour prendre toutes les mesures de précaution qui sont nécessaires. Et il ne nous appartient pas de commenter au-delà cette décision qui est prise par le Japon et par le Comité Olympique. C'est un premier point. S'agissant du Bélarus, nous avons effectivement annoncé les décisions de sanctions qui ont été prises sur le plan du principe. L'implémentation a déjà démarré puisque plusieurs mécanismes sont enclenchés. Et s'agissant de la question des sanctions sectorielles, ces sujets seront analysés dans les cadres institutionnels qui sont prévus et en lien avec les principes de l'égalité. Donc il est trop tôt pour répondre à la question précise que vous envisagez sur un des secteurs mentionnés. En toute hypothèse, ce qui était important pour les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, c'est de bien veiller à ce que les sanctions ciblent le régime. Et nous voulons, pour la population de la société civile, au contraire, donner du soutien. C'est une distinction qui doit être faite à nos yeux.
Yes, little to add. I think, indeed, we have, of course, said that we're looking forward to the Olympic Games. No more has been discussed. But the signal that from the European Union, more than 100 million doses of vaccines have been authorized to be exported to Japan also is a strong sign that we support any preparation for the Olympic Games and the safety of these games.
Thank you. Turning to Stuart Lau now from Politico. Stuart.
Hi, thank you. I'd just like to ask more specifically about the issues of the East China Sea and the South China Sea that you discussed with the Japanese side, because we'd like to know more about what exactly was discussed. And second of all, I mean, on Taiwan, the Japanese Prime Minister, when he was in Washington, they shed light on the issue of Taiwan. Did the issue come up at all during today's summit? Thank you.
Yes, indeed. The maritime security is a top priority, and we think with Japan, we are convinced with Japan that it's very important to cooperate in order to make sure that we can improve the maritime security everywhere, but also in this part in the world, which is very important for the international trade. We discussed also the possibility to strengthen the cooperation. I'm very concrete. For example, we organized in Djibouti common exercises, Japan with European member states, and we announced today to the Japanese Prime Minister that we are ready, the European Union with our member states, to strengthen the European presence in order to play our role, to assume also our part of responsibility in order to guarantee as much as possible the maritime security, which is a very important topic. And indeed, on Taiwan, the Prime Minister had also the opportunity to explain the vision, and you know that we share and we support his vision on this question.
Next question is for David Carretta, Radio Radicale. David, on vous écoute.
Oui, bonjour. Merci, David Carretta, Radio Radicale. If I can come back to the issue of Olympics game and vaccines. Until now, Japan has inoculated 10 million of doses, 2% of the population, even if it received 100 million doses. I'm wondering if you have discussed this with the Prime Minister of the country, and if you think that it's a problem not just for the Olympics game and the safety of all participants, but also in terms of justice, in the sense that the doses that are not used by Japan cannot be used by other countries. Thank you very much for the opportunity to ask my question.
Yes, should I?
Please.
Yeah. So the 100 million doses of vaccines have been authorized for export by the European Union. but we do not have knowledge about delivery schedules. This has to be clearly differentiated, the one or the other. And the second point is when you were speaking about fairness and solidarity, that is the reason why last week in the G20 Global Health Summit, it was a major step forward that our industrial partners, BioNTech, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson, committed publicly in this Global Health Summit to deliver 1.3 billion doses of vaccine this year to low and middle-income countries, for low-income countries, non-profit and middle-income countries at lower costs. So there are very clear commitments here too. And it is important to have put this in proportion.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. President. And this concludes our press conference for today. May I please point out the publication on our websites. And thank you to the Japanese press for following this press conference. See you soon.